Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm with Patrick Moriarty of Moriarty Financial Services, and Patrick's going to be sharing his wealth of knowledge with us over this next series. We're talking about 7 financial blind spots. And Patrick, you've been in the financial services industry for over 35 years.
That's right.
So thank you for being here and sharing your...
Sure.
Yeah, so let's talk about the first one. What is the first financial blind spot?
Well, I think one of the biggest blind spots is individuals not having a written plan, believe it or not. You know, a lot of individuals do more planning when it comes to one of their vacations, right?
Yeah.
You know, would you go on a long road trip without a map or your GPS working?
Yeah, sure wouldn't.
It's the same idea when it comes to retirement planning. You know, you have to have a map, you have to have a roadmap.
Why do so many folks not have a written plan?
Well, I think it's, for the most part, I think Americans are procrastinators, right? We do our taxes last minute, we Christmas shop last minute. I know you have kids, they probably do their homework last minute, right? So we're procrastinators, I think, for the most part. But I think there's also some fears involved. You know, there's fears of that it's too difficult, or it takes too long, too costly, too expensive. And there's fears of what, you know, the results might be, you know, that they might not like the outcome. And I think all of those are false. I think it's very important to get started on the planning process sooner than better. And it's not very difficult because I basically do all the work.
So what does the planning process look like, and when should someone get started in all this? I know it can be overwhelming, and that's why we put it off.
Exactly.
So what can you tell folks, you know, when they should get started?
Well, again, the sooner the better. I just had a young couple in my office. They were in their late 30s, so that's perfect, right? Now they've got 25 years or so to look at this plan, but it's never too early. And the planning process is very simple. It's all about gathering the data that we input into the plan. So we start with, you know, the income part, right? What kind of income will an individual have in retirement? So everyone will have Social Security. You know, then we plug in, maybe they have a pension, maybe they have rental properties. We plug that income in, interest, dividends. They might even work part-time. So we plug in all the income. Then we start plugging in their assets, right? Their IRAs, their Roth IRAs, their 401ks, thrift savings plans. Add in all the retirement assets, add in their annuities, their money market savings accounts, add in all the assets, and then we factor in a rate of return on those assets. We don't use just a flat, you know, 5% or 6%. What we like to do is add some volatility, have some positive years as well as some negative years throughout retirement. And then we've got to factor in inflation, because we have to factor in some sort of cost of living adjustment each and every year over retirement. Yeah. And then of course taxes, right? We have to still pay our taxes in retirement. And then we factor in what their living expenses will be, either on a monthly or an annual basis. So we plug in all this data, we hit enter, and it produces a really nice report that shows what their cash flow looks like in retirement and what the impact of that will be on their assets. And it'll show us whether or not they can live the lifestyle that they want to live.
Yeah. So what does someone need to be prepared for the first appointment?
Well, the first appointment is really just a conversation of seeing if we're a good fit, right? To see if I'm a good fit for them, if they're a good fit for me. And I'm trying to find out what their goals and objectives are. What do they want their retirement to look like? That's most important. And then to see if they have the finances and the assets and the cash flow to help them meet those goals.
It just starts with a conversation. It doesn't need to be intimidating, right, Patrick?
Exactly, and it's not. It's very simple. I do all the work.
All right, well, to get the ball rolling today, give Patrick and his team a call. The information's on your screen. Patrick, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Yep.